for the guys, but I think I'm going to be sitting on this panel too, so maybe if there's anything for me, throw it my way. I'm literally going to maybe just make a few observations based on my 21 years working for the Ministry of Defence, 3 years of which, as many of you may know, was spent on the UFO project, which was something I did from 1991 through to 1994. One thing that I have not said before, except to the guys, I think, on a radio show, but I wanted to kind of say it to you both in person. I did not even join the Ministry of Defence until 1985. So I certainly wasn't there at the time of the incident, though subsequently I undertook what police would call a cold case review of this. I'm going to say a couple of things about that in a minute. But even though I don't feel that I have done anything wrong here, I just sort of, as the nearest thing there is, perhaps, to an official spokesperson, I actually want to say sorry to you guys. You know, so... If you were let down, which you clearly were, by your own government, by the chain of command, then in so much as it means anything coming from me, and I'm not sure that it does, but I am very sorry for the fact that you were put through this, and I hope that today is going to be something that is cathartic for you, and it helps you, you know, deal with this, because I know that I've met you several times, and I know it's a big part of your lives, and I really hope that this is helpful to you. One thing that I would say about the Ministry of Defence's position on this, and it's a soundbite that I'm sure all of you are familiar with, the standard Ministry of Defence line on the Rendlesham Forest Incident is actually the same as it is for the UFO phenomenon as a whole. It's this no defence significance quote. Well, let me tell you, you know, that is a kind of standard knee-jerk reaction that we trotted out every single time any member of the public or media representative asked us about UFOs. UFOs, no defence significance, because what else could we say? And you know what? Most times, we were right. Because, of course, most times it did just turn out to be misidentifications of aircraft lights, weather balloons, etc. But on this occasion, absolutely take this to the bank. This event was of extreme defence significance. And I'll tell you why. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a believer or a skeptic. It doesn't matter whether you think this was Russian or Martian. It doesn't matter if you think this was extraterrestrial, interdimensional, intertemporal. If you have an object over arguably two of the most sensitive bases in the entire NATO alliance, and if this thing does what these people and many, many others say that it did, firing light beams down at the ground, firing light beams at their position, firing light beams possibly into the weapons storage area itself, then you know it doesn't matter, like I say, whether you're a believer or a skeptic. It's a defence issue. It's a national security issue. It's a security breach. So don't listen to the no defence significant soundbite, and if I ever wrote to any of you saying that, I apologise. It was the party line. The cold case review. This was just me sitting down, going through the files in 1994, doing what police officers would do with an unsolved crime. And it's interesting, one of my subsequent postings in the MOD was to a security division where I worked alongside military cops, so I actually got to know a fair bit about the police mindset and the investigatory process. And it was very interesting. We always used to say that a UFO sighting was much like a crime. If you solved it in the first 24 hours, 48 tops, you know, fine. If you didn't, your chances of getting to the bottom of it became vanishingly small very, very quickly. So I did this cold case review, hoping that some new piece of information would come to light, but essentially what I found was a situation where both the British and the American government, whether by accident or design, were, I think, complicit in a cover-up, not necessarily, with most of them, of knowing what this was and hiding it, but almost not knowing what it was or what to do. It was very clear to me, for example, that the British were saying, well, clearly this is something that the Americans dealt with, they investigated at the time, because they waited so long to report it, clearly they didn't think this was very important, they had matters well in hand. We also know that the Americans were saying pretty much the same thing. Well, it happened off base, and as General Baisley said, that makes, this was taken to the weekly meeting of 3rd Air Force, and the General almost rubbed his hands with glee and said, it's a British issue because it happened off base. So you have this situation where arguably both the British and the Americans had jurisdiction, but each thought, or perhaps hoped, that the other had primacy. Now, what this meant was that we had pretty much a situation where either both parties to this could take a step back and say, well, you know what, we needn't get too worried about this. Either side have got it in hand. And the proof of this is perhaps one of the biggest failings of the entire investigation. Any investigator, any cop will tell you that there are a very small number of things that will fatally undermine any investigation. One is delay. We had that. The date on Holt's memo. A second thing that will foul up an investigation is poor information sharing. The Ministry of Defence didn't get these witness statements and these sketches, but neither did the USAF get the Defence Intelligence Staff assessment of radiation levels taken at the landing site. So both the USAF and the MOD had important information which we didn't share with the others. So delay and poor information sharing, and the lack of putting one single individual in charge of an investigation. Instead, you had multiple investigations, multiple agencies, people coming on and off base that even those there weren't familiar with. This was a recipe for confusion. Maybe that confusion was deliberate, maybe it wasn't. Well, with those very few brief observations in mind, I really want to turn it over to the Q&A session now, and I'm not sure if Linda going to join us out here.
Quickly, I want to say something.
Yeah,
sure. Okay, I don't want to give you no secret information because I want to keep my retirement checks from the government. But I will neither confirm nor deny nuclear weapons on that base. Okay, all right. But we have to be able to go anywhere, any place, anytime. American forces, whether they're stationed here, whether they're stationed wherever. I was PRP. What is that? You ever hear of PRP? Personal Reliability Program. It means I could actually provide security for nuclear weapons, delivery systems. Okay? The guys I work for could too. And there's a DoD directive, 5200 something. And there is a OSI directive. There is a Air Force Security Directive. There is a Department of Defense additional directive, it goes on and on, that says if the behavior or a situation comes up that's suspicious of an individual that's PRP, this has to happen immediately. You must relieve the person of duty, you must send them over to the hospital, have a psych evaluation done, and then that's temporary decertified. Then they have 30 days to decide if we're going to be permanently decertified on PRP, which means they're worthless in the United States Air Force, or put you back to duty. We never got relieved of duty. I, as a sergeant, if I thought he was acting funny, different, report him. I had no choice. I had to do that. Everybody had that responsibility. Ask yourself, why would anybody not do that unless they knew it was true? They knew it happened out there. That's why they want to pull our PRP. This has never came up. That is one of the things that we're going to discuss tonight. The United States Air Force said, Jim, that's okay. You can go back to work. No problem. Take a day also. So it's the same thing here. You know what else they did? All right, I got a top secret SCI, sensitive personnel information, background investigation. My clearance is upgraded. And I'm also given a top secret cosmic anomaly. God, that sounds good. A NATO top secret. I'm upgraded 1 week after Rendlesham. I'm working flight. I don't need it. Why would they do that? 3 weeks later, guess what the Air Force does to me? Thank you very much. They make me non-commissioned officer in charge of security police, plans, and programs. I write all security regulations, all base defense plans, all security requirements for forward operating locations in Germany, and our war plans, by the way, which we used just recently in Afghanistan. That was top secret. And I didn't know what I was doing. They had to train me. It took 6 months to train me in that job. They gave me 2 guys to work for me. I don't know what I'm doing. Why would they do that? Do you think there's a cover-up going on here? Do you think they want to watch me? Do you think they want to control me? Colonel Howe got promoted with rank. They moved him to another location. But Colonel Howe was working for OSI because he was under orders. All officers, good officers, follow orders.
How much would you say now is
Well, I don't think it was OSI. I actually think it was DIA or NSA. Yeah, we've had problems, yes. Our security is an issue, yeah. Sure.
I just want to make one comment before we go to the formal Q&A, and it's just by way of a personal tribute to someone who those of you who have followed the case will be familiar with, Georgina Bruni, who sadly passed some time ago, but who gave so much, I think, to this case, both in terms of identifying witnesses and giving them a damn hard time, and indeed photographs, files. Georgina Bruni, you know, God bless her, made such a wonderful contribution. I pay tribute to her this evening. And I should just say, Charles Holt told me very recently, God, he said, being interviewed by Georgina was like being grilled by OSI. She would have taken that as one heck of a compliment. So now, Q&A.